I have a deep love for the original, and that doesn't come down to it being a masterpiece, because it's far from it. That comes from its amazing premise executed perfectly throughout many stellar sequences. Welcome to Sandwich Reviews. I'm the Talking Sentient Sandwich, and A Quiet Place Day 1 may not be as good as the first installment, but I still think it was worth the 10 or so bucks I spent to see it. Shot competently, a consistent tone carried throughout the runtime, which was further upheld by the actors' performances, all of which felt natural and genuine. Yet, for most of the runtime of this prequel, I was questioning the point. And that may only be because Hollywood has been hammering dozens of other prequels into my brain since I was born, but I thought there should be a point to it. Tell some sort of origin. And for part 2, as well as this latest prequel, I can't help but ask why it's necessary to make A Quiet Place into a franchise that keeps pumping out sequels. Because everything that could be done with the concept of having to stay silent to hide from monsters was already played out by the end of the first. Why is it necessary to return to this world? Going in, I figured there would be a lot to say about the big city life, and there is commentary there, but it doesn't quite fulfill the promise of the title or the trailer. And speaking of the trailer, if you're lucky enough to not have seen it, don't. It spoils pretty much the entire movie and ruins any hope of suspense. But if you put all that aside and even forget that this is a prequel, does this movie hold up on its own? Kinda. But all that came down to one aspect, and that is the cat. Putting this cat in the movie is the smartest thing that the filmmakers could do, because I was so incredibly attached to him. I also wrestled with whether I liked or disliked how simple the movie was. There was lots of symbolism to unpack, but the driving force behind the plot is initially weak. And that wouldn't matter as much if the monsters created more of a threat, but the film as a whole just wasn't really scary. It has one, maybe two jump scares and a couple sequences where someone comes face to face with one of the monsters and has to be silent. But aside from that, the movie is much more concerned with developing the characters and symbolism, which to be clear does work. But with all that being said, including the pros and the cons, I definitely think this is worth a watch. So as long as you're a fan of the first, check out A Quiet Place Day 1. Now, let's get into some spoilers, because I need to talk more about that cat. Easily my favorite aspect of the film, the cat not only brought the two central characters together, but also made the movie tense. I already knew when a lot of the deaths were coming thanks to the trailer, and aside from the main character, I didn't care too much about anyone's safety anyway. But for the cat, I was concerned for him at every moment, which is wild that he even made it through to the end. I thought for sure the cat was going to go early on, but he stayed alive, somehow. However, with that does come some issues, because that cat is way too smart. I'm talking human level intelligence. He was on a leash initially, but later on, he was just trusted to follow along and not wander off and be killed. And even when he was on a leash, I was wondering how in the world that cat was fine with it. I've tried to do the same with my cat, and that lazy butt would rather be dragged across the ground than walk on a leash. I understand that's not true for all cats, but it did take me out of the movie. Which sucks, because for the most part, a lot of attention is required when watching it. Crafted from an ambiguous narrative, the whole plot and the drama that drives it is very understated. There is some sort of direction in the plot, but that's to go get a pizza, which does reveal itself to be emotionally important to the main character, but I can't deny how aimless a lot of the runtime comes off as. Yet, when all that drama came to a head and the main character decided that living was something that she actually enjoyed, I felt some emotion there. And I thought the ending, where she went out on her own terms, was very well done. I do feel bad that I haven't brought up Joseph Quinn, but he was there. He wasn't bad or anything at all, but I didn't care for him nearly as much as I did the main character, and I still didn't care for her as much as I did her cat. If you agree, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe for weekly video essays and reviews, and enjoy a delicious sandwich.